I enjoyed one of these beverages today. That one. That's mineral oil. Haven't had the need to drink that yet. So, Unity, huh? Because I'm not really from around these parts. It might have taken me a couple of extra seconds to understand what I was looking at there in terms of the concept of the artwork. Well, you know, maybe it's cynical, maybe it's just a marketing ploy, but I say good on him. Even so, because it's the right attitude. And moreover, the beverage was delightful, reminiscent of bubblegum somehow. So, moving on to the event of the evening, a Cornucopia of Hawkbills. I also have a new setup here. I discovered that I had a microphone stand to hand, a couple of cable ties, and some double-sided sticky tape. So we'll see how this holds up. And I got my chamois leather here. Got my EDC spray. And a selection of Hawkbills and a couple of other things maybe to look at. So I decided to do this today because today I got a couple of knives in the mail, both of which are on the table. One is this William Collins Sloyd knife here, which we'll come back to, I guess. And the other one is this. Wonderful, wonderful Hawkbill. I love it. Absolutely love it. And it's a Schrade. So I saw this on eBay, I believe. Schrade Cutco, I should have said, right? So, yeah, Walden, New York. So, yeah, from the Walden days of cutlery manufacture, about which I know little, but it kind of rings a bell. I've noticed that this shape is around. You see Hawkbill knives with this shape, but I don't know that anyone's making them anymore. And actually, also of note, I believe that Case have discontinued the Hawkbill. So I've read. So we'll have a look at a Case. But I just want to look at this thing for a minute. Is that rosewood on the scales? That would be my guess. Fit and finish, right? I need to move this back a little bit here, maybe. Looks pretty good, gaps-wise. And it feels flush. Superb. Spring is pretty flush in the half stop. Excellent snap in both directions. Kind of a bare butt on that one. Very attractive by my lights. Very chunky. Oh, she's a beaut. I have to pick her up again in a minute. But notice how similar to this Wustenholm IXL, albeit the blade profile is significantly changed on this one. We got a bit of wobble. Quite loose in the spring here. Pretty well made. Incredible popcorn stag. And it does have a kind of a butt plate here. But actually, I think that the Schrade Cutco has it over this one in the quality of the fit and finish there. And also in the snap. This is a little faded. But I love that. Is that a stamp or an etch? I mean, it's very deep. I'm guessing it's a stamp. I would figure that for a stamp. Yeah. Wostenholm, Sheffield, IXL. Not much of a user, this one, but I did put an edge on it, and these blades, when, it's practically a ram's foot now more than a pruner. And a lot of these old ones that you see, I have some that are even way more far gone than this in the same direction. And they're excellent recurve blades. They work really well. Actually, in many regards, it's better. I can kind of imagine at least why a lot of those guys back in the day just took that little point off there. Because if you want to cut your sandwich or whatever, it's preferable to something, say, more dramatic like this one. Hey, I figured out a cool trick with the light. I can go like this, and then we can look at the profile in relief, huh? Can make a profile comparison, shadow style. Yeah. Now I see the big difference in the kickstop there. How do you do, sir? Well, I'm pleased to meet you. Cutco's got the better balance too. This guy, not sure he wants to stand up, huh? Okay. He's prostrating himself to the Cutco. British. Sheffield. Rather an interesting shape on this one. And definitely an interesting profile. Much more of a beak on that one. So they're horses for courses also in terms of how much of that curve you're going to have. Again, this one, I tested it, but I haven't used it much. It's more just a collection item. Thomas Bell. There is a bell. It's really amazing craftsmanship on this one. Now I'm not sure whether it's got a half stop. No, it doesn't. And it does have a snap in both directions. And I didn't just oil that one, but some of them I did. This is also a Wostenholm. Not quite as fancy as the other one, but it's still very nice. There's fluted bolsters. Captain Electro told me they're called something else in the US. I forget now. Really good snap. Really good snap on a lot of these guys, actually. So let's move over to the left here. We have some heritage US brands. A Cattaraugus. This one's actually a liner lock. You hear that? Ding! I don't know if that's going to come across, but it's funny little acoustic on the brass liner there. No snap to speak of on the closure. I don't know whether it ought to or whether that's just it being a liner lock. You know, there's a bit of resistance there from the liner, I guess, when you're closing it. I don't know whether if I oil it some more and wiggle it, something might come back, but yeah. It's got this, maybe it had a bail on it at some point, I suppose. And this looks like Delrin or something of that ilk. But it's got a really lovely, classy kind of chestnut glow to it. Seems to be coming across okay. That's cute how you see the brass liner in there. Very nice. So yeah, Cattaraugus, I gather, predates Case. And as I say, Case, apparently they've discontinued this pattern. They're not going to make it anymore, allegedly now, of course. Maybe they will. So this one was pretty bad. And as you could see, it had received some not too tender attention from some kind of grinding wheel or something at some point. So I started reprofiling it. So yeah, this is how I figured it ought to go with how it was finished. Interesting to look at it like that, actually. I can see what a bad job I'm doing, or have done so far. But I mean, obviously, it'll change significantly as I continue with that project. I have a few more, I have maybe 2 or 3 more Case Hawkbills. This was a nice one with this jigged wood. I have some that are smooth. I have one that is, the one that I lost and my neighbor Jim found has this same jigging pattern, but on a kind of Delrin material, which looks nice, but I don't like it as much as this. I much prefer the feel in the hand and the look of it and everything. Lovely. And this one is a hammer, and I just got the snapback on it now. And I should have done the nail nick when I got it, but anyway, a lot of these things, you know, I got them, I fiddled around with them for a while, and then they went into a Hawkbill box, and I get them out from time to time, whatever, fiddle around with them. Oh, we can see the results of the oiling there. But anyway, yeah, it wasn't snapping. It was very sticky, and now you can kind of see why. All that shmoo leaching out. So again, I mean, this is really pretty good fit and finish, as far as I can tell. There are little gaps there in the bolsters, but I think maybe there was some shrinkage. Well, this is also seems to be a synthetic material. I hadn't really checked that out earlier, but it's maybe the same stuff as this. Let me try it on my teeth. I don't know. Pretty similar. Yeah, could be the same. Nice. Not the snappiest snap on the table, but pretty good. Pretty good. And now, let's look at a couple of modern GEC. A GEC Northwoods and a GEC Farm and Field. I got this one a while back, and when I saw this one on Captain Electro's channel, I made a comment because it struck me as very similar in profile to this one, but it didn't occur to me that it was a GEC, because I'm pretty new to all of this stuff, right? But you know, of course, once I started getting into it, you start reading about GEC and the reviews and this and that. And so with the GECs that I own, I went through eBay resellers and paid the pretty penny, right? And so I don't really intend to continue collecting them much. I mean, it could always happen. Something could happen, right? But it's I didn't really even understand about the reselling and all that stuff. I just saw what they were going for, and I thought, well, my mama always said, you get what you pays for, right? So if this thing's cost hundreds of dollars, it's worth hundreds of dollars, right? And actually, for me, it is. It's worth it. I'm going to get a lifetime's pleasure and use out of this. However, I never quite convinced myself to everyday carry it. I scratched it up and sharpened it and everything, and I used it in all kinds of ways, but I don't know, it's just not quite an everyday carry. It's just a little too... It's like a Sunday carry for me, or a special occasion, or something, So when Captain Electro gave me this, I was just like, well, that's it, right? Because this is like the sodbuster of Hawkbills. And it's really such an awesome proposal, because you don't worry about putting the patina on the blade. Or I don't. I want it, right? So a drop of oil and zero maintenance and practically indestructible. And then you drop it in the forest and you're going to find it. I mean, it's a little shiny. You probably find this too. At least, if you dropped it on that side with the escutcheon and the right light conditions but this thing is, you got a pretty safe bet. So it's interesting to compare these two because, functionally, they really work the same. I'd say that the snap is about the same, which is known to be weak on this generation. But the cool thing about that then is you get one-handed opening. You can even... Oh, maybe not this one. But this one, I can. So there we go. We found a difference. Maybe it's just I can't do it on camera. Oh, there you go. See? So that's pretty cool. Maybe this one's just a little loosened up more than the other. And man, it was sharp when it came to me. So Captain Electro knows how to keep things sharp, for sure. I mean, this I don't think that it came from the factory as sharp as he gave it to me. By my experience with that one, of course, it could have been made by someone else. So last night I was looking at this and I said, there's no nail nick. Wow, I've had it for a month or something, and I just never computed that there's no nail nick on it. I mean, I don't know. Like, I just never noticed. Because there certainly is on this one. And the swedging is kind of similar, but it's also, obviously it does something pretty different once it gets to this area here. With the match strike nail pull, which I gather that strike anywhere matches are now unobtainable globally. And I grew up with them, Swan Vestas, which were not the original ones, which I believe were a layer of wax over something that would be flammable in contact with air. Hence, a very dangerous proposal. And that would be the one that Clint Eastwood could strike on his stubble, because you just had to remove that cap of wax and then it would ignite. Now, the Swan Vestas that I grew up with is something different. It works much more like the conventional matches, but you can strike them on anything abrasive, and you could even strike them on a window pane. If it's big enough, and you have enough surface to go over, that would cause it to ignite. And you could light them on your teeth. You could light them with your fingernail, which is a really cool game because 1 time in 10, you'll pull the head of the match off and it'll be flaming off underneath your fingernail, which is a very special kind of pain, I'm sure you can imagine. And the last Hawkbill on the table, the wild card, Frost Cutlery. I looked it over and I didn't see it stamped Japan. Now, for some reason, I'm pretty sure this is Japan. But, you can thumb click it and it's a backlog. So we got a back lock and a liner lock on the table. But this is kind of something else, right? The Seahawk. Nice old bit of frost cutlery there in surgical steel. Well, so that would be 440 stainless or whatever, right? This thing is extremely sharp. And I used it for making grape jelly. I cut each individual Concord grape so that I could squeeze it, and guaranteed it that when I squeezed it, the fleshy part would pop out in the same direction, which is where I put the little nick. Grape by grape by grape by grape. I think 5 or 10 jars of grape jelly, big ones, yeah, mason jars. I also used it to harvest the grapes. It's a very functional little pocket tool, this guy. Really, really cool. Yeah, so definitely one of my favorites. This is probably about half my collection here. You know, I got some more. Let me show you one more. Let me show you a couple more I got down here in the box. Right? Check out this Russian 45 kopeck. What was that? Probably 25 cents or something. Or whatever, right? It's got a chisel grind on it. That is a wicked blade. You know, excellent snap. And it's curious, where's the spring? Huh? And this, for a plastic handle, is one of the most comfortable handles. It's so ergonomic, especially, you know, for the pull cut, which is obviously how it's set up to pull cut. For a right-hander to pull cut, right? So you've got the flat side here. So pretty cool. There's some kind of artistic, you know, the way that they put the grip onto it with this wavy thing and then the dots. Yeah. Good old Soviet style. What we got there? A gardener, huh? With a leaf. He's eyeing it up. With his hands on his hips, he's eyeing up the leaf. He's like, I'm going to get that leaf. I'm going to get it with my 45 kopeck Hawkbill. Yeah, no mark on the blade. Well, this frost cutlery actually inspired me nearly just failing epically. One of the most amazing to open knives I own, right? It's got such a classy snick to it. Listen. It's not the fastest, but it's, it's really good. Every time I do it, I'm blown away. So probably that's thanks to this Mr. Russ Farrell of Russ Farrell Design. Doesn't cut very well though. And here's a fun curio, the electrician's knife. Right? It's got a little Hawkbill in it. Kind of a mini one. Well, pretty close to this size. A little smaller than this size. And it also has some tools. It has also has a liner lock for the pry tool. A nice feature. And this tool, which also, you don't see this tool, nobody puts this particular multi-tool blade thing on a knife anymore that I've seen. But I've seen quite a few of these on the older pocket knives. It's sharp here. It's pretty sharp. It's knife, really. But absolutely dull up the front here. It's like a screwdriver, pry bar thing. I don't know what this thing is for. Possibly for indexing or something. So that's interesting to me. This multi-tool blade thing that is no longer extant on pocket knives. And then there's this secondary blade. Lovely pen blade. Chunky. No, that's not an etch. That is just rust. All right. Enough Hawkbills for this evening. But never too many for me. William Collins. I just looked at the right time, and he had made some kind of error with some sale, and there was a thumbnail that said, "Oops, last chance to get some knives, whatever." And I think this one immediately caught my eye in the photo there. It's different. And I'm pretty happy with the 3 William Collins knives that I have, which is the Mini, the Field Boss, and the Field Lore. That covers a lot of bases. But this is just seemed like something very unique, and I think it's maybe a one-off Sloyd knife with this kind of a Scandi grind, yet with a distal taper, so that that it has this peculiar smile. And I haven't tried cutting with it yet. Anything. Let's do that. Here's a nice old piece of maple firewood that I made into a trainer karambit one day. Or karambit, whatever you want to call it. How's my camera work? Ooh, look at that, yeah. Nice little curl. I knew it would be good. I mean, I knew because it's William Collins, and then, I mean, once I looked at it out of the box. How you like that for a clean cut, huh? William Collins, number 1. And last, but not least, because Captain Electro sent me this, and I am genuinely touched by that gift. So awesome. And I love Hawkbills, and I happen to strongly suspect that Captain Electro has a bit of a thing for the Warncliffe. And here is a very special Warncliffe that is going to leave my collection and go to him. Now, I say it's very special. I mean, I don't think it was a big wow knife in its day. But let me see if I can get this lighting sorted out. Possibly not much, huh? I'm not used to the new setup. There you go. There we go. Joseph Rogers and Sons, Sheffield. And it's a mystery material on the scales to my mind, but I strongly suspect it's Bakelite. The very first plastic from which they made those very first telephones, the black ones. And what more can I say about it? I used it for a while once I got it. I sharpened it to the very best of my ability back then, and I probably haven't improved that much. So it is pretty sharp, and I used it for whittling, and I loved it. It is a really killer whittler. It's pretty thin. I mean, it thinned out a lot because it was very rusty, and to get into that, it's still pocked. So it's you might say it's past its prime, but I think that it's about to enter into its prime. That's my take. And on that note, Captain Electro, it's not that I exactly want to hold your feet to the fire, because it is possible that we had a misunderstanding, but I am entertaining the hope, la esperanza, that you are going to do a longer term test and review on the Warncliffe knife, which I sent to you, because I would like you to try whittling something a little harder than fruit, so that we can see whether or not it performs at that task. Now, possibly you already tried, and you thought, you know what, I can't do this because then I'm going to be telling this guy that his knife sucks. Tell me, I need to know. This is the whole point, because I have a long-term plan. Now, let me tell you guys a little bit about myself, guys and gals, about myself and my channel and my hopes for my channel. My battery is running low and some features may be limited. But the feature of my mouth being able to prattle is unlimited. So I'm going to have to try and keep this fairly brief. But let me tell you about how I got the name for my channel, which was just when I made my YouTube account. I just made this anonymous name, but it is a kind of a name that I earned for myself when I was living in the northeast of Thailand. And I was living in a small city, market town or market city, in the kind of center of town, very close to the party districts. And I would go over to the bars and play music with the local musicians in the bars there. And over some time, I actually made myself this traditional instrument from out there, which is kind of like a little electric guitar with 3 strings called the pin. And so in order to make that pin is how I contacted, in order to make that pin instrument, I contacted a luthier for help with the neck, and he's the guy who taught me how to make a knife, right? So there's a little backstory there. So I made a knife in order to make the musical instrument, which happened in Spain. But later I was in Thailand, and I played this instrument in a bar, in my friend's bar. And the next time I saw him, he said he was laughing. He kept laughing, and he said, "Erik Nat Dongamet," right? My name is Erik, Erik, like the Viking. And he kept saying, "Erik Nat Dongamet, ha 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 ha," and laughing like Eddie Murphy. And I asked him, "Well, what are you talking about? Why do you keep saying that?" And he said, "Oh, well, this guy came over last night. He was listening while you were playing in the bar, and he came up to me afterwards. He said, 'Who is this guy? Who is this crazy Farang guy with the dreadlocks down to his waist and playing traditional northeastern Thai music? Right? What is the deal with this guy?' And so my friend said, 'Well, he's Erik, and he's found a woman here, and so he's here, and he loves the music, and he likes to hang out. And oh yeah, where's he staying? Oh, he stays around the corner in Dongamet.' Okay, and I didn't know that that's the name of my street, or the little cul-de-sac where I was living. It's called Dongamet, and it got that name, which is Khmer. It's not Thai, but there was a tremendous influx of Khmer people, immigration to that area, to the extent that they are now the dominant ethnic group in that region. And so they had a street that was named Dongamet, which means many blades. And the reason why it had that name, many blades or many knives, the reason why it had that name is because that's where all the blacksmiths had their shops, the bladesmiths, had their shops. And their wares all strung out, so you would walk down this alley, and it was just, I guess it was just blades everywhere, right? pretty different from what once I was living there. But, you know, as a guy who at that point really music was my thing, you know, and I wasn't so into knives as I am now, but I always loved knives and blades and stuff. So I just said, well, Eric of Many Knives. Yeah, right. And so check out how that worked out. And I want to say I listened to Scab doing one of his drive around videos today, and I got a lot out of it. And he was talking about how he wants to build his channel. Right? And I really want to build my channel too. And it's not that I'm unconcerned with numbers. I am concerned with numbers, and I think it's fascinating that there, at last I checked, 84 people who think that I'm worth subscribing to on this platform, which is mind-boggling to me. Now, when I was about 10 years old, I went to a school that had 80 students in it. Very small school. And so you could get to know everyone. In fact, in your time, over the years at that school, you knew everyone's name and you knew a little bit about them and their personality and so forth. So it's kind of like a big family. So, I mean, 84 subscribers, 80, 90 subscribers is a pretty good number. Yeah? Now, if you're talking 100, you know, I might have to try and make myself a little more unpopular, or maybe not, I don't know. But that if it comes to that, that shouldn't be difficult. I wouldn't have thought, right? The challenge is getting people to listen and pay attention and think that you're worth it and all that. And that's a question for me, but I just don't think I should preoccupy myself with that question, because I'm having fun doing this channel stuff. And I mentioned to a friend today that I think maybe sometimes I like it almost too much. It's like a new drug. And then, of course, that also has its counterindications, right? But, I mean, he had a simple solution, was just, well, do it for as long as you enjoy it. When you're not enjoying it, stop doing it. So I recorded a song. And I enjoyed that. And now I'm recording this, and I'm enjoying it. And I think it is possible that someone out there will enjoy it. My mother is a trained concert pianist, classical pianist. And she's not very well in practice anymore, but she can still play. And in her day, she was top notch, you know. She cut a record or two and everything. Then she got married and had children and changed plan, moved to Africa and blah, blah, blah. My mother told me that when you go to play a big concert in the Carnegie Hall or whatever, you got to bear in mind that actually most people who are there couldn't give a hoot about what you're doing. They're just there because they want some background experience, some pleasure, some social kudos for being seen there or whatever, a whole load of motivations. And then, you know, there may be people who are genuinely interested, but, you know, maybe they get there, they're a little distracted, or they just don't like the piece that much, or they don't like how you play it, or whatever. But, you know, in an audience of, let's say, 1,000 people, there's probably going to be one person there that is really touched and affected, and maybe it really changes their life. And so that's the person that you're playing for.